politics and to know with Juanita. We're glad that you're joining us again this week. We're always happy for people like you, people that are interested in the issues that are happening in our cities. Council and the mayor and the city staff and the city residents. So when you're interested in what's happening, we'll then encourage you to get involved when it's an issue that's important to you. If you haven't watched our program before, each week we'll have someone on from one of the city councils in CCX's viewing area talking about what's currently happening and what's going to come up in the future. If it's your city, take down their name and email and phone number. And if it's not your city and you see an issue that's interesting to you, call up your city council and mayor and find out what they're doing. And I'm very happy tonight to welcome as a guest Mayor Mark Steffenson.
Thank you.
From Maple Grove, right?
That's correct.
The snowiest city around right now.
Snowiest city around in April,
right,
the middle of April.
Right. Now, and you've been on my show before, so you know that I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself out there to our wider audience. Tell them a little something about yourself and your time in Maple Grove.
Sure. I'm Mark Steffenson. I'm the mayor of Maple Grove. I've lived in Maple Grove since about 1987. I've been on the city council since 1997 when I was on the city council, and I became mayor in 2001. I've been mayor ever since. My wife and my daughter, we live together in Maple Grove, and she'll be a senior next year in high school, so not too far in the distant future we'll be empty nesters, but
right.
You know, it's been a wonderful place to live and raise a family, and so you know, my other part of my life, I'm also an attorney at a firm in Maple Grove called Henningsen and Snoxville, so that keeps me busy, all those different things, and so it's great to be the mayor of Maple Grove.
I think we've got a pretty good area up here in the northwest.
We have a wonderful set of suburbs up here in the northwest suburbs.
Now let's switch to kind of an update. Maple Grove has a comprehensive plan and you're working on updating it because we talked about that before and we've been telling people it's a 10-year project, but maybe you can tell us what Maple Grove has done already to upgrade your plan up to this point in time.
Sure. We started the comp plan update process a little over a year and a half ago. And so what that process really entails is us going to look at what land has developed in the city, what type of projects have come in, what's the density of those projects, what housing projects have come in, what commercial developments come in. So we sort of take stock of that first, and then we look at what are the spaces yet to be developed in Maple Grove. Principally today, that is the gravel mine area that's left, and then the northwest part of Maple Grove. The southwest part of Maple Grove is, you know, for the most part, if not completely developed, the developments have been approved for those areas.
For the future.
For the future. So there isn't a lot of decisions to be made in that area. So then we had to look and see, you know, for instance, in the gravel mine area, how do we want to change the development? How have times changed? I mean, so a good example is retail is having a more difficult environment because of the online sales. So, you know, it's not our intention as a city to have a lot more retail built in that gravel mine area. It wouldn't make a lot of sense. It doesn't make long-term sense. So, you know, how do we adjust our plans for that? How do we adjust our plans to deal with the current office market and what users are looking for? So we made adjustments in that part of the plan as well to adjust for, you know, how times have changed.
You
know, I'm trying to guess how times are going to change going forward too.
Be on the cusp of change.
Well, yeah, I think that you know, there's a lot of developments that have come, and there'll be a lot of developments that come in the next 10 years that will surprise us, and we'll see how they all play themselves out. Some will happen, some will not. You know, a good example: autonomous cars.
Oh,
You know, and everyone says it's going to happen. Everyone says it's going to be happening tomorrow, and we'll see when it actually comes to fruition. And then the northwest part of the city, you know, we had to look especially hard at the area that's sort of the triangle area that's bounded by I-94, County Road 610, or Highway 610, and County Road 81. There's that sort of triangle in there, and we had to figure out what type of development makes sense in this sort of area that's really surrounded now by freeways.
Definitely.
And so there are significant changes to that area of the plan that really address sort of increasing the usage, whether it's commercial, industrial space that wasn't planned there before,
Oh, sure.
or some increase in the densities of those areas for housing. So we made those changes, and now we will be having it come before the council at our first meeting in
right.
May for our approval.
Right.
And then we have to, from there, we have to send it out to our neighboring communities. Neighboring communities have a right to review and comment on our
Right.
plans. And then as a part of the process, it gets submitted to the Met Council for their approval. And so that process then takes about 6 more months.
Right.
And so early next year in 2019, that should be approved. And then we should be going forward with the new sort of plan for the next 10 years
Right.
on how development will occur in our city.
And that all comes as part of the requirements from the Metropolitan Council, right?
The Met Council has the ability to require us to make this plan every 10
Mm-hmm.
years, and they get to approve it, and that's what we're doing.
And there's, like you said, going to the neighboring cities, it's all the ones that border your city, right?
Right. So for us, we have to give it to Osseo, Brooklyn Park, Champlin, Dayton, Corcoran, Plymouth, and Medina, I believe.
And they have to give you theirs, so.
They have to give us ours and theirs, and we switch, and we'll make some comments and see what they're up to as well, because
Right.
I think we want to make sure that our plans coherently match each other.
Right.
I mean, you don't want to have competing land uses on city borders that
Yeah.
don't make sense.
Right.
So you want to look at that and see what that is as well.
So there's a lot of thought and effort that goes into that, right?
That's why it's going to take
Right.
us almost 2 years to do
Right.
the whole process. A lot of meetings.
And then what kinds of opportunities have there been along the way for citizen input into that? Because I know your staff has to work really hard.
So we've had a series of meetings.
Okay.
And so we've had a series of meetings that are obviously open to the public. We
Right.
had a big committee that was working on the comp
Mm-hmm.
plan that was made up of a couple council members, some planning commission members, some park board members, staff, and other public members. Then we had a series of public hearings or public meetings where we presented the plan to the public so they could see and comment on the plan as it was designed.
Right.
They had an ability to comment on that. And so that really provides a way for the citizens to see what's happening.
Right.
And in particular, I think it's important for us to have dealt and worked with the community members whose properties are impacted by the changes that we might be doing.
Yeah, and there's less uproar later on if there's enough opportunities for people to learn about these changes as it goes along.
Well, if you're going to change what a landowner's property is, it's a lot easier to deal with them down the road, like you said.
Right.
If you talked about it ahead of time and they agreed with the change,
Right.
versus somehow they got surprised by the change.
Right. And then I put up on the screen, because people might have some questions about it. Now, it is available on your website, right?
It's available on our website.
So people that have an interest about, they probably isn't anybody that's going to want to go through the whole thing, or possibly a very few people, right?
Well, I think there'll be some people who want to look at exactly what affects me
Right.
and my
What
property.
affects me, or an area that you're interested in, you can go on the website and see what's being proposed,
That's right. Yeah.
and then realize where's your city headed. But one of the places where I think the comprehensive plan helps is for people that are wanting to move into an area.
It's very true. If
Yeah.
you're going to be buying a house in an area, I think it's a very good idea to go and look at what the city's comprehensive plan says. So, you don't, I hate to say it, but don't trust the real estate agent
Right.
that tells you it's going to be across the street.
Right.
They might not know, or they might not be accurate.
right,
And so
right.
if you check the city's website, you can see, okay, that's going to be more homes, or that's going to be an industrial building, or that's going to be commercial. So you're not surprised when that's what it becomes.
So that's a good plus for looking at it. And other people might be interested in particular areas, whether it be your parks and recreation, or the businesses that are coming. And
Sure.
so it's available for people.
It's available for them. I think businesses like to look at to see sort of where your city's going and what the plans are.
And then we'll put up, your development director is Dick Edwards.
That's correct.
And we'll put up his phone number now, 763-494-6045, for people from Maple Grove who have questions after we've given this little brief comprehensive plan outlook,
You
right?
can contact him or others in our development department, and they can answer your questions.
Right. That the Park and Recreation Department is working up on setting a concert for your new Central Park, right?
Yes, yes. So we're excited about this. Some people may know that we talked and looked at potentially having a concert that would have been in conjunction with the Super Bowl.
Okay.
And so
I remember reading that.
we worked hard at that and then decided that that wasn't going to make sense. It was just really tough to put it all together and have it make financial sense. And so instead what we're going to be doing is we're going to be having an outdoor summer concert that will be in our new Central Park. It's sort of on the big grass area that's really designed for these type of events as well. And so we're very excited that they will bring in a very nice group to play, and we should have a very well-attended concert. They don't know what the group is yet, so I can't say who that is because I don't know. But
keep an eye on the website, right?
Right, and I know that the people that we're working with have been successful in doing a similar type of concerts in Plymouth, and so we're expecting that we'll have a very good result in Maple Grove as well.
So this will be the first concert for your
It'll
facility,
be the
right?
first concert for our facility, and it'll be exciting.
And now, will that be a concert that there'll be a charge for, or will that be
There will
open to the public kind of thing?
There'll be a charge for the tickets.
Okay.
And so there will be a fence around the park so that you'll have to pay to get in.
Okay.
And, that's how the concert will make its money, to pay the musicians.
Right,
So
right. And Central Park also has a little bragging rights for Maple Grove, right?
Right.
Maybe you can tell us a little bit about some national attention that you've received.
So recently it was featured in a national architecture magazine called Architecture. Ours was featured along with a building in North Dakota
Okay.
that dealt with how we have constructed a beautiful new Central Park and a beautiful new facility that sort of mixes the urban concept of our city plus the natural sort of northern woods of our community or our state into the chalet that was sort of built there, and how we have this beautiful park with the beautiful outdoor ice rink, skating rink, and some of the other amenities, that we have there, the beautiful new outdoor playground. So they put all that together and showed it, and it received some national awards for its architecture.
So kind of some little recognition, right?
Yeah, it's great that when you develop these projects like this, that they do receive national attention to say, this is a really beautiful facility and it's a really nice job.
So anybody that hasn't been out to that area should.
You should go out there.
Take a look at
it's
what it's
absolutely fantastic. It's really beautiful.
And then you have an amphitheater where you have a number of programs too during the summer, right?
That's right. That's right. So that's right between City Hall and the Community Center, right behind the Hennepin County Library. So throughout the summer, assuming summer arrives shortly. But we essentially have events every night of the week. We have it on our website what the schedule of events are. They range from concerts to plays to movies. A very popular thing that they do is they have on Friday nights they have an outdoor movie night. So they show a movie, and people love to come and watch. And there's obviously a set of concerts throughout the summer as well.
Yeah, we've been there for concerts, and it's a nice facility, a nice place to watch from. Now you have some retirements coming up. Maybe we can talk about who some of your administration level people that are leaving.
So one of them is Dick Edwards that we just mentioned. He's going to be leaving as of May 31st. So he's been with the city for 29 years. And so that's a long time, a lot of knowledge, a lot of information leaving, but certainly we wish him the best. Anne Marie Shanley, who's our Human Resources Director, has announced her retirement in early July. So that's going to be coming up fast as well. And I know that we just recently went through a study just trying to examine and figure out what was going on. And it was a significant number of people or individuals that we expected would retire in the next 5 years, given their eligibility and everything. And we as a city are planning for that to make sure that we're grooming our current employees to take over those roles if that's available. I think it's very important if we can to hire from within.
Definitely.
Certainly that's a motivating factor for your employees to work hard and do a good job and get further education and further develop their abilities. So we put a focus on that. Sometimes we go outside the city
Sure.
for development, or because it's appropriate for us to do that as well. But there's other people that I expect to retire in the next few years,
Right.
but sometimes you guess wrong.
Right.
Some stay longer and some
Yeah.
stay shorter.
But when you're getting a significant number of people in that category, then you better have some plans on how you're going to handle it.
You need to have a plan, and you need to stress that, we need to have education going on. We need to have mentoring going on,
Oh,
so that
yes.
people understand what the person above them's job really is and how they perform it, so that if that person does retire, they can step into that role
Right.
and perform it.
And then what process do you use in replacing somebody at this level?
Well, at that level, we generally will go through an application process
Okay.
that will, more often than not, include the outside individuals as well as in-house candidates. Rarely do we just limit it to in-house candidates, and then we go through a process whereby they will interview with a group of. Well, first of all, you'll call down the actual
right,
applicants to
right.
a group that you want to interview, and then the staff will interview that. Usually, the human resources director and the city administrator and one or two other staff people will be on a committee that
Right.
will interview those applicants, and then 2 or 3 will be interviewed by the city council to see which one we would like to choose for that role, and that will complete the process.
Kind of funnels on down
It
to
funnels
your
on
level.
down.
Right.
Obviously we don't want to be interviewing 10, 12 people.
Right,
That
right.
isn't functional. It doesn't work very well. So this gives everybody a say and helps narrow the applicant pool down.
And then when they're interviewed, is that a public or a private meeting?
That is public.
Okay, because I thought so.
It's
but-
very public, and so it's a very interesting process. I know that it was very interesting when we went through the police chief process a couple of years ago. And, we had a group of police officers that were there
Right.
for the interviews. And
Right.
so that was a little bit different in the sense
Wow.
that they were there to see what they thought.
Right.
And then they gave some expressions of their thoughts to the council as well.
Yeah, it's an important part of the council's business to keep everything going in the direction you want it to.
That's right.
Who you select to be your staff.
Who you select is very, very important, because if you select poorly, it's a tough road
Right.
to get rid of
Right.
someone. It's a tough decision to do that. And if you
An area that we hear from time to time that we've done it over, the last 3, 4, 5 years are the Emerald Ash Borer.
right.
And what your city is doing currently, what's the status of your city, and what are your city doing in regards to
Well, we're very aware of the problem.
that? Okay.
We have thought, we have obviously a lot of ash trees in Maple Grove. So for a considerable amount of time, we haven't been planting new ash trees as
Okay.
a city. As we know, the borer's out there.
Right.
Realistically, it's just simply a matter of time till it's in our city. We have worked together with some of the other entities. I know that we actually were used as a part of a study to try and determine, what could be effectively used to treat the ash
okay,
borer. 'Cause
right.
we had a couple of locations that potentially had the borer in it, and I think they've come up with a couple of ideas on how to treat the ash borer. I'm not sure how successful they'll
Right.
be, but it's sort of like the Dutch elm disease
right,
from years
right,
ago, where
right.
they had to try and figure out how to treat the trees, and so that's what we're trying to do. There's some sections of town where that's just not going to be practical because
Okay.
there's too many ash trees,
Right.
and so that will be a problem when those areas get infected, and we'll have to deal with that at that time. But we're trying to do what we can do to limit the ash borer's exposure to our city, but I'm not sure if that'll be effective either.
Yeah, that's kind of hard,
Yeah.
given the movement of people and so many
Movement
of
of
them,
people
right?
and the winds and everything else.
So how far away is it from our area?
I think that there's a couple locations now that
Where
have
it's
found-
already here?
It's
Right,
already here. I mean,
okay.
I think I saw the other day that there was a place in Minneapolis now where they'd found it. So I think that you're starting to see it show up in the suburbs, and so I don't think we can be naive and say it's not here yet.
Right,
It's probably here.
right.
We just don't.
You just haven't found.
We just haven't found it yet.
If it's in a small enough quantity.
Right. And I think that sometimes people don't realize what the problem is when a tree dies.
Oh, right, right.
And so that's what we have to keep our eyes out for.
And then do you have any plans or thoughts or education or whatever for people that have these trees on their yard? It's their trees and what to do with it, right?
If I recall right, we had a brochure that we had published about a year ago about that, and I assume that as the ash borer gets here that we'll be more active in providing the citizens with information so that they can concurrently with the problem look at what we're suggesting and see what they want to do.
And have there been any where the city pays to take it down and put into a tree? A few of the cities are doing that.
Yeah, I don't think that we have done that. I think that our fear is that that's going to be a very expensive proposition.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was going to say next. Right.
I know that we have, I don't want to say how many because I know it's an awful lot of trees that we estimate we have, but it's literally tens of thousands of ash trees in our city. So the odds of us paying for people to take those things down or to treat them is probably unlikely.
And then there has been experimentation in ways of treating that have developed over this period of time. So there are more things for people to try if they have a particularly nice tree that they want to save.
I think that
or the city too.
Right. I think that what we have found or what we understand is that there are some treatments that seem to work.
Yeah.
So that on larger trees, it might make some sense for you to use that treatment as a homeowner and do it. I think you have to do it annually. But I think that the treatment seems to work. It's just that with the volume of some of the neighborhoods, it's going to be tough to do that.
Yeah, and it won't be the city's probably first choice unless there's something really particular about that tree.
Right, or if we find that we have a solution that's very effective, then we might use that very effective treatment to treat the tree.
Well, and I'm sure there's people working on developing that kind of thing now because it's such a large thing for Minnesota that it can be very profitable for them.
Well, I would think so.
Yeah.
Well, either there with the University of Minnesota through their ag department, they work on these type of diseases all the time.
Now, this fall, elections are coming up again.
Elections are coming up.
So we should highlight to people who on the city council or...
Well, this fall, there will be 2 city council members and myself up for re-election.
Okay.
It will be Councilmember Jagger, Councilmember Leith, and like I said, myself.
Right.
So I don't think any of us have officially declared what our intents are. So
it's a little early, right?
It's a little early. I mean, we don't have a primary in our city.
Right. Yeah, that's why I wanted to bring that out.
And so it's a little bit different where our filing period is later. Our filing period is out in August, late July, early August. That relates to the time period of the actual primary.
Right.
And so unlike a lot of these offices that have primaries, we don't have to file or announce until later this summer.
So that's something people can kind of keep their eyes open for.
I'm sure that there'll be many announcements as the spring and summer goes forward, and I don't know if everybody's going to be running for re-election or not, but that's up to them.
That remains to be seen.
Remains to be seen.
We'll just highlight to people to watch for city news in terms of elections when they start getting into August, right?
Yeah, I would think midsummer.
Now, an area that all of our cities have had more ordinances and more dealings with is in terms of rental housing.
Sure.
Because when we had that deep recession, right, then more houses turned to being rentals. Now, I don't think Maple Grove had as many as some areas, did they?
No, we did not. A number of the neighboring communities had a large number of homes that became rental properties. We in the city of Maple Grove did not. So, I think that's good for us because I think that sometimes the rental housing market is hard to control.
Oh, it can be, right. Now, you have some ordinances to keep everything on a good framework for your city, right?
Right.
That maybe there's 2 ordinances in terms of rental properties, some ordinances for that, and then a crime-free rental housing one. Maybe we can start with the one on rental property ordinances. What's covered and what is the city concerned about in terms of that?
Well, in the rental property ordinance, I think you're referencing, it deals with us as a city making sure to inspect your properties to make sure that they comply with codes,
Right.
that they're an appropriate place for people to be living. We want to make sure that if someone's house or an apartment is actually going to be licensed by the city or available in the city to be rented,
Right.
that it meets certain living conditions. And so we're very particular about that. I know that at times I've gotten complaints from the landowners or the landlords
right.
saying, why are you so picky?
Yeah.
But we think it's a good idea. We think
Oh,
it makes
yes.
for better living conditions for the renters and better for them to actually maintain the properties as well.
Right, to keep up the quality of your neighborhoods, right?
That's right. It's very important because that, when you have a home that becomes a problem in a neighborhood, it tends to attract other problems.
Right.
And then that's a very hard process to stop.
And then to deal with that, you do need an ordinance that gives you the permission to do various kinds of things, right?
Right. And that's sort of where the second ordinance that you mentioned comes into play.
Next step number two.
The crime-free multi-housing ordinance that we have. That's an ordinance that's been in place for a number of years. We think that it's a very important tool for our city to have so that our landlords have an effective tool to use with respect to their tenants. Mainly what it is principally in place to do is that if you have a tenant that is committing crimes,
Right.
whether it's in the city or it's in the building or
Right.
whatever, that provides them a method for potentially evicting that
Right.
tenant. Like I said before, we don't want these rental housing locations, especially the multifamily housing locations, to become centers for crime activity.
Oh, right.
I know, obviously, one of our neighboring suburbs had that problem years ago.
Right.
Years ago, they had a horrible.
They had to work hard. It
They had to
took
work
many years.
Many years, and
Right.
they worked very, very hard, and it's worked.
Right.
But our approach, and I think a lot of other cities' approaches today, is very simple. That instead of having to get to that point and then having to work so hard for so long
right.
to fix the problem, we want to take care of it on the front end and make sure the problem doesn't develop. And
Right.
so that ordinance is really helpful for those landlords, so that if, for whatever reason, someone at that facility, whether it's actually the tenant or someone
Right.
who's living there,
Right.
with the tenant's permission, is causing those type of problems or issues, there is a method to evict that
Right.
tenant and make sure that the whole facility doesn't become crime-ridden.
And so that's important areas that all of our cities have some dealings with, and so people should be aware of that. And most of the rental in Maple Grove then is in apartment rentals, right?
I would say it is,
Yeah.
yes. I would say 90% of the rentals in Maple
Right.
Grove are apartment rentals.
So you don't have quite the same effort that you need to put into the housing rentals.
Now, we as a city own about 30
Okay.
homes that we rent out through our rental program. And there's a few other agencies that have additional homes. My council has some. There's a couple of nonprofits that have a couple set of homes. But, for the most part, our rental facilities in the city are apartments. Yes, it does.
Well, I want to thank you so much.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate your getting here and helping our people out there learn what's happening in Maple Grove. We're glad that you've been with us, and we hope you'll join us again. Bye.